bright and early. It's the end of my day here in Florida. So behind me, you guys hopefully can see the vehicle assembly building. So that can fit the Statue of Liberty in. It's 525 feet tall, and I can't remember the meters right now.
Yes. Do you guys want to say hi? Hey! We are very happy to have you here, Kaylee. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your time. So do you want to like introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, I can do that. And actually, here, let me get really quick. Can you guys wave again for the broadcast? There we go. There's Sydney. I have to go back and forth because I'm looking at the one on my phone to see you guys. But yeah, so this is Kennedy Space Center, and my name is Callie Burke. I've been here for about 15 years ago is when I started as an intern, and I'm a trajectory analyst, the Launch Services Program. So my job is to make sure that when we launch robotic spacecraft that are going to go study the Earth, help us get weather data, study the sun or other planets, that it gets the right place at the right time. And so one of the missions I'm currently working on is the Mars 2018 lander InSight, which is going to learn about how Mars formed as a planet. And so I work with the Jet Propulsion Lab to make sure that when we send it, the rocket drops off the spacecraft, that the spacecraft then, with what fuel it has on board, can get to the red planet. And I also, in my innovation time, work with the International Space Apps Challenge. So Kennedy Space Center has been involved since the fall of 2012. So we've been involved since the 2013 year. So we didn't write any challenges this year, but we've done that, and we've helped. It's going to be hosting. Theirs doesn't start though for another, I think 14 hours or so, or no, 12 hours now. So you guys have a bit of a jump on us.
Oh yeah, you're
excited for this year's challenges.
So are you part of a judging panel this year?
No, I'll be going as a volunteer. So since I'm going to be helping people basically as one of the Kennedy Space Center kind of experts to help answer any questions people have just about how the space industry works, or help them maybe find some of the data they maybe have questions on, or just, there's a lot of things that you pick up just being around the Space Center. And since I'll be helping doing the mentoring, I'll be able to help with the judging because I'll get to know the teams.
Okay. Cool. So someone actually asked you if your role is the same as Flight Dynamics Officer.
So I think they might be talking about a role that is on the, that is related to the Johnson Space Center. And so when we have human flights. And so it isn't the same role. I'm not an officer. However, I am on console for launches. I have two different roles I can be. And also when we do the manned flights, they're usually much longer. Ours, a long flight for us might be 3 or 4 hours. And it might be as short as 11 minutes. So it's a very quick flight versus the ones where the shuttle going up regularly for at least a couple weeks. And then also the space station, I mean, that's been up there for almost a couple decades. So anyone who's, I don't know if you have any high school students, anyone who's 17 or younger, has been a person in space. But I can either do the NASA winds role. So we look at the upper level winds, on console, and basically look for any wind shears that may be up at 50,000 feet or something that could break the rocket, or else you can't control it. The same way you don't have a NASCAR race in the snow because really high performance vehicles, but we need the right weather conditions. And then also I can be on console in a different role where I watch the trajectory of the rocket. But my job doesn't start in that case until after the rocket takes off, because otherwise we know exactly where it is right up until they hit the lift, the launch button.
Of course it is. Also, we have a question about your mission to Mars. When did you start working on it in the first place?
So I started in September of 2013. And around there. And that was for the original launch date, which was March of 2016. But there was an issue with the primary instrument. And so we had to wait the 26 months from the sun to go, or the Earth and Mars to go around the sun and be in the, so basically I was working at about, or maybe it was actually no, I'm sorry, it was 2012. So I was working about 3.5 years before launch. And some of my coworkers have started, missions maybe 8 or 10 years before launch, because as a trajectory analyst, we'll start guiding a mission well beforehand when they're still proposing the mission. Make sure that if they propose a spacecraft, that we actually have a rocket that can launch it. But usually our primary work starts about 3 or 4 years before launch. And I have another mission that I just got assigned called the Joint Polar Satellite System #2. The first one's gonna be launching later this year, next year, around there. And so that's not launching until 2012, so about 4 years from now.
Oh, wow, that's a very long time. It's amazing. So is there any human involved in like any humans landing on Mars in this mission?
No, there's the missions I work with are mostly just the robotic ones. And so NASA has a plan working towards our journey to Mars. And so these robotic missions are part of it. And actually there's a lot of work that happens at Kennedy Space Center getting ready for when we do send humans to Mars, making sure we have in situ resource utilization, that when they get there, they can use things like the Mars soil and other things we find on Mars when we get there. But as we don't have a launch date for one. We're with the Commercial Crew Program, which is where NASA is going to start using our commercial rockets to launch astronauts.
That's so cool.
So just an FYI, I'm going to answer some more questions, but I'm actually going to change location and show you guys some launch pads. So you can ask me questions and I'll be answering, but there won't be a good view for a few minutes while I get in place.
Oh, okay. We can bear with you. That's fine. So in the meanwhile, maybe you can just talk about the prize that the global winners would have, about like having are you still there? So about the global prize that it will be attending. Yes, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. I just turned off the camera while I'm moving around.
Okay, that's fine. I know.
So my understanding, the global winners come to Kennedy Space Center and view a launch. And so based on, I don't know if any of you guys caught the Reddit, that we have a new organizer this year for Space Apps, but she is still planning on having everyone come to, can you guys still hear me? My Wi-Fi is being a little funny. Okay, great. So based on the Reddit, she said that she is still planning on having, there we go, to Kennedy Space Center, come for a launch, and usually it's at Kennedy Space Center. So yeah, that's exciting. So that's one thing where I get really excited, because I get to meet, since they've come here, I get to meet the global winners, and it's a lot of fun. So here is a rocket engine from the 50s. And then this is a model of the Space Launch System, this is what NASA plans to use to launch to an asteroid, the moon, or Mars. This is our heavy lift vehicle. We're using commercial partners to do the stuff to low Earth orbit, like the space station. But that's going to be a huge rocket that'll be one of its configurations will be even taller than the Saturn V moon rocket that was used in the 60s and 70s. And I'm going to run up to the 5th floor. So yeah, so I look forward to hopefully meeting a couple of you guys sometime this year. They're still figuring out what launch to go to, but usually that's announced within a couple months of the winners being announced.
I'm sure we will have some like good winners in Sydney. They're working on a really interesting projects here.
Oh really? What are you guys doing?
Okay. So do you guys have any questions to ask Haley? Anything? Yes. Do you want to come over? Probably.
We can relay it. Yeah. What was your question?
With the West Telescope launch next year, how's it going to change things for passengers?
So Kaylee, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I couldn't hear the question though.
Yep, no worries. So the question was, with the launch of the Webb telescope next year, was it? Yep, how is that? How is it going to change NASA's future, the launch of the telescope?
Well, it'll be very exciting for those in the data. It's been something that's been the plan, so it's not so much a change to the future as it's a planned item that's been going for a long time. But it'll basically get some really exciting data. It's not going to be quite as visual as we've gotten from the Hubble telescope, but scientifically, it's going to make similar changes to what we experienced with the Hubble telescope. So our scientists are really excited, and being able to look off in the universe and observe it in different wavelengths gives them lots of different perspectives. So it'll be really exciting. And that's one where my program is actually not, or we're advising for that one. That's actually going to be going on an Ariane 5, which is a European rocket, because we do partner with many different countries. And so sometimes we'll use one rocket versus another. So
awesome, thank you.
And it's a little dark here, so I don't know I don't think you're going to be able to see very well anymore some of the rocket pads. But right now you're looking at the launch pad 39A. This pad was originally developed for the Saturn V moon rocket. And so it's one of the 2 pads that they launched the moon from. And the space shuttle also used it, along with a companion 39B, which is even harder to see over on the side of the screen now. But 39A is currently leased to SpaceX. And so they actually have a launch scheduled for Sunday morning, but it's not a NASA launch. It's the National Reconnaissance Office. And then, oh, you can just barely make out in the center of the screen a tiny little white building. That is an Atlas V pad, which is used for missions such as the Curiosity rover on Mars and the Juno spacecraft that arrived. It launched in 2011, but it just got around Jupiter this past July 4th.
All right. We are like right on time.
So just to wrap up, Kaylee, we just wanted to ask you, what is your one big tip for all our participants here today?
Let's see, I think the biggest tip that I can give is to really consider your presentation. I've seen some really amazing projects that sometimes they don't really consider how they're going to present it until, half an hour beforehand. Especially with this, you can have a really great project and put some really amazing work behind it, but if you don't show the judges it, then it's not going to necessarily get out. And that's really true, for many things. But really, consider having the diversity of your team. Who's going to be, your project manager, somebody who maybe more have a business focus, who's going to work on your communications. You can code up a really great project, but if you don't have someone to properly talk about it, or you don't prepare yourself to talk about it, it doesn't necessarily get you very far. And the same thing goes for the presentations you'll do today, and if you go on to global judging, the videos that you'll make later too.
It's a very good tip. Thank you for that. So thank you for joining us, Kaylee. Hope to see you soon. If anyone doesn't have any question, just let us know. We'll ask offline. Thanks again, Kaylee, for joining us.
Thanks, and good luck, everyone. I look forward to seeing the videos.